بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا ونبينا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين لا سيما بقية الله في الأرض أجل الله تعالى فرجه الشريف اللهم أخرجني من ظلمات الوهم وأكرمني بنور الفهم اللهم افتح علينا أبواب رحمتك وانشر علينا خزائن علمك برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. We continue our study of history of Fiqh, jurisprudence. Alhamdulillah, we refer to 20 of our great fuqaha already, and we have 16 to cover inshallah today. And this will take us to the contemporary fuqaha. Number 21 is Sheikh Ali ibn Abdul Ali Karaki, who is known normally as Muhaqqiq Karaki or Muhaqqiq Thani, because we have Muhaqqiq Hilli Sahib al-Sharaya, they call him Muhaqqiq Thani. He was from Jabal Amil, southern Lebanon. Today you will better understand deep connections between the Shia of Iran and the Shia of Lebanon and the whole relations in the whole Shia community actually. So he was from Jabal Amil. He's one of the greatest Shia jurists. He studied in Shamat and Iraq. Then in the time of Shah Tahmasp Abba, King Tahmasp I, he went to Iran, and for the first time he was appointed as Shaykhul Islam for the country. He was Shaykhul Islam, like chief alim for the country. After him, this position was given to Sheikh Ali Menshar, father-in-law of Sheikh Bahai, and then was given to Sheikh Bahai. This position meant that this person is responsible for making the final decisions for religious affairs for the country. We have very interesting document that Shah Tahmasp writes to all his governors, saying that whatever decision Muhaqqiq Karaki makes, you must follow. He can appoint, he can dismiss, and even he says that my legitimacy comes from him. So it's like the idea, we say Wilayat al-Faqih. So that was one of the clear cases of that because Safavids were Shia, and they had this idea, God knows, inshallah it was honest, or I don't know, maybe politics, I don't know, inshallah it was honest. They had this idea that for a Shia governance, the only way for legitimacy is if it comes through ulama who are deputies of Imam Zaman. So he talks in the way that as if Muhaqqiq Karaki is in charge and I am working under him. His famous book in fiqh is Jami'ul Maqasid, which is commentary of Qawaid by Allama Hilli. Qawaid by Allama Hilli has many commentaries because it was a very important book. One is Jami'ul Maqasid by Muhaqqiq Karaki. He has also commentary on books by Muhaqqiq Karaki like Shara'i, Mukhtasar al-Nafi. When he came to Iran, he established Hawza in Qazwin, then in Isfahan, which was the capital. And this is a very interesting pattern you find, that these ulama, wherever they settled, they established Hawza. And they trained. They didn't just give lecture and let salat. They also tried to train people and pass on this tradition to the next generation. He trained many good fuqaha, and therefore, after a few centuries of gap between Sheikh Saduq and his father, up to this time, again there was a revival in Hawzas in Iran because of Muhaqqiq Karaki. He died in 937 or 941, about 500 years ago. With two people, through Ali ibn Hilal and then Ali ibn Hilal ibn Fahd Hilli, he is connected to Shahid Abbal. So Shahid Abbal is the teacher of the teacher of the teacher of Muhaqqiq Karaki. Number 22, Sheikh Zainuddin, known as Shahid Thani, the second martyr. You remember when we talked about Shahid Abbal, I said in prison he wrote Al-Lum'atu al-Dimashqiyya, and Shahid Thani in prison before his martyrdom wrote the commentary. He is from Jabal Amil again. And it seems that initially he has maybe some of his ancestors from Tus, because in some books he says At-Tusi Ash-Shami. So maybe some of his ancestors come from Khurasan. He was born in 911 and was killed in 966. He traveled a lot to many places, to Egypt, Damascus, Hijaz, Jerusalem, Iraq, Istanbul, and wherever there was a good scholar, he tried to benefit from. At least he had 12 Sunni teachers. This shows how thirsty he was for knowledge and how he was not, discriminating. Anyone who had knowledge, he was going and benefiting. And he also was very good in philosophy, in irfan, in medicine, in astronomy, and very pious person. It is said at the same time that he was teaching in the Hawza, in the night he used to go and collect some wood and sell to make halal earning. And then next day he was going and teaching. When he was in Ba'labak, he used to teach Ja'fari, Maliki, Shafi'i, Hanafi, Hanbali fiqh. If you read Munyatul Murid, which is one of his very important books on Islamic education, this was actually a book that he was asked to submit in order to be given ability to teach in Damascus, in Syria, in Sham. So it was a Sunni like Hawza or college, and they asked him to give them something to show his knowledge. So he wrote this. In fiqh, his famous book is Sharh al-Lum'a, but he has also another book, Masalik al-Afham, which is commentary on Shara'i by Muhaqqiq. This is used in the Hawza, but not as a textbook, but as a handbook. Shahid Sani didn't come to Iran. And he studied with Muhaqqiq Karaki before Muhaqqiq Karaki moved to Iran. Sahibul Ma'alim, we have a book in Usul al-Fiqh, Ma'alim al-Usul, belongs to the son of Shahid al-Thani. The next person is Muqaddas Ardebili. You must have heard his name. Ahmad ibn Muhammad Ardebili. Ardebili is a city in Iran. So he's from that area, but he went and settled in Najaf. He is an example for piety and spirituality. Shah Abbas Safavi insisted a lot on bringing him to Isfahan, but he never left Najaf. Shah Abbas always wanted to do something for him. Great respect for him, so was looking for an opportunity to offer some services. And he never was asking for any service. Once, a person who had done something in Iran, whatever, I don't know what was the case, he had to escape from Iran, from the king. So he went to Najaf and asked Muqaddas Ardebili, please help me. So Muqaddas Ardebili wrote this short letter to the king. Please listen carefully. I read in Farsi and explain. Bani mulk Ariyat Abbas Bedamat. He doesn't say His, I don't know, Excellency, His Eminence, King Abbas. He says Abbas. Abbas, who is taking care of this temporary world. Mulk Ariyat. This is just Amana. So he says, Abbas, who is looking after this temporary world, must know. Although, agarche in mard awwal zalim bud. Although this man initially did zulm. Aknun mazlum mi namayad. But now he seems to be oppressed. Maybe it means that he didn't deserve this much of, pressure or this kind of punishment. Chenanche az taqsir u begzari. If you forgive him, شاید که حق سبحانه از پاره تقصیرات تو بگذره. Maybe Allah would forgive some of your sins. بنده شاه ولایت احمد اردبیلی. The servant of king of Vilayat. Means you are not king. King is Amir al-Mu'mineen. I am servant of Amir al-Mu'mineen, Ahmad Ardebili. This is the beauty of relation that, when you see kings respect ulama, this is good condition. When ulama respect kings, that's the Of course, respect is good, but I mean obedience. Shah Abbas wrote back, به عرض میرساند. In Farsi, when we say به عرض رساندن, we use it when we talk to someone who is higher. به عرض میرساند means, may I inform you, like this. Abbas خدماتی که فرموده بودید به جان منت داشته به تقدیم رسانید. Those services that you asked me to offer, I accepted wholeheartedly and delivered. امید که این محب را از دعای خیر فراموش نفرمایید. I hope you don't forget to pray for this lover of you. کلب آستان علی عباس. Dog of the court of Ali Abbas. Because he used to say, I am kalb of Imam Ali. So this is the influence that ulama had in the time of Safavids. You know, unfortunately, some people are very much talking against Safavids, and they want to say, you know, they created the Shia, which is not true, because this is the 10th century, and Shia existed, as you see, much before. They invited ulama from, you know, other, and they were there for about 400 years. They did lots of services. We don't want to accept everything they did, but they did great services. So, Muqaddas Ardebili refused to go to Iran, although the king wanted him to go to Iran, but he refused to go and remained in Najaf, and therefore he managed to make the Hawza of Najaf strong. And the Hawza in Isfahan was also strong. Shahid Sani and his son and his grandson, his daughter's son, Muhaqqiq Sahib Madarik, they also didn't go to Iran, they remained in Syria. So Alhamdulillah, they revived Hawza in Sham, some revived the Hawza in Najaf, and we have Hawza also in Iran. It is said that Sahib Ma'alim, the son of Shahid Sani, and Sahib Madarik, his grandson, despite their love to visit Imam Raza, they never went to ziyarah of Imam Raza because they were worried that the king may insist and they would not feel able to say no to the king. So, in order to avoid the insistence of the king to stay in Iran, they never visited Iran. One of the famous books of Muqaddas Ardebili is Sharh al-Irshad, commentary on Irshad. Another is Ayat al-Ahkam. I mentioned last week when we had Fazil Miqdad. I said there are some ulama who have a commentary of Ayat al-Ahkam. There are 500 verses of the Quran which are about Ahkam. Muqaddas Ardebili has a book on Ayat al-Ahkam. The next scholar is Sheikh Bahai. Sheikh Bahauddin Muhammad Amili. He is also from Jabal Amil, from southern Lebanon. With his father, Sheikh Hussein ibn Abdul Samad, when he was very young, they moved to Iran. He had traveled to many countries, and he was very genius. And he was Zulfunun, means he was a person who was very good in different fields. He was very good in literature, he was also poet, he was a philosopher, he was a mathematician, he was engineer, he was jurist, he was mufassir, he knew medicine. You know, there are places in Iran that he did the architecture. Even the shrine of Imam Raza, he did part of the architecture. In Isfahan, there are places that he made a public bath that for centuries kept water always warm. You might have heard. No one knew the secret. When they opened, they realized it was only one candle. And maybe it was using from the, gas. But then they couldn't put it back. So, he was great scholar, and he became Shaykh al-Islam, and he had great power also. Some of you might have heard this beautiful story that once a Darwish went to Sheikh Bahai and told him, Sheikh, it's not good you have this much, power, and you have, big home, servants, for example, you must not be interested in dunya. And Sheikh said, let's travel together. So they traveled, and after some time, they reached a river, water, and this man was thirsty and he wanted to drink water. He realized he had forgotten in Isfahan his kashkul. They have a kind of bowl, something that they carry. They put everything in. So this is very special for them. So he was restless and said, we have to go back quickly to Isfahan because without this kashkul I cannot, And Sheikh Baha'i said, I left my palace, my family, everything, my classes, my students, my books aside, and I have no kind of attachment. You have only one kashkul and you cannot live without it. Mullah Sadra is one of the students of Sheikh Baha'i. Mullah Muhammad Taqi Majlisi, the father of Allama Majlisi, himself was a great scholar. Muhammad Taqi Majlisi was a student of Sheikh Baha'i. Muhaqqiq Sabzawari, one of the students. The wife of Sheikh Baha'i was also a faqih. Yes, his wife was also faqih. Sheikh Baha'i was born in 953 and died in 1030 or 1031. The next person is Muhaqqiq Sabzawari, Mullah Muhammad Baqir Sabzawari, one of the students of Sheikh Baha'i. He was from Sabzawar. Sabzawar is on the way from Tehran to Mashhad, if you go through desert. And he was a jurist, he was a philosopher, and he has a book Zakhira in Fiqh, he has a book Kifaya, he has commentary on Ilahiyat of Shifa. He died in 1090. The next is Muhaqqiq Khansari, Hussein Khansari. He studied in Isfahan and he knew philosophy and fiqh. His famous book in fiqh is Mashariq al-Shumus, which is commentary on Durus by Shahid Awwal. He died in 1098. He's contemporary to Mullah Muhsin Faiz Kashani and Muhammad Baqir Majlisi. The next person is Agha Jamal Khunsari, the son of Muhaqqiq Khunsari. Like his father, he was good in fiqh, ma'qul and manqul, in fiqh and philosophy. Ma'qul means philosophy, manqul means fiqh. He was good in both. He has commentary on Sharh al-Lum'ah. At the same time, he has commentary on Tabi'iyat of Shifa by Ibn Sina. He is teacher of the teacher of Bahrul Ulum. We will talk about Sayyid Bahrul Ulum. He is the teacher of Bahrul Ulum. The next person is Fazil Hindi, Sheikh Bahauddin Isfahani, not Sheikh Bahauddin Jabal Amali, Sheikh Bahauddin Isfahani, who is known as Fazil Hindi. His famous book is Kashful Litham, means to remove the mask. So, this is his famous book in fiqh. He died in 1137. The next person is Agha Wahid Behbahani, Muhammad Baqir ibn Muhammad Akmal Behbahani. And he had a discussion with Akhbariyun, and he managed to defeat and strengthen the Usuli position. You may know that in the time of Safavids, especially in the time of Shah Sultan Hussein, the Afghani, ruler, they attacked and they came and they defeated the Safavids. So some of these people then had to leave from Isfahan to go to Karbala. So Wahid Behbahani went to Karbala. In Karbala, he trained many people. Sayyid Bahrul Ulum is one of his students. Sheikh Ja'far Kashiful Ghita is one of the students of Wahid Bihbani. Sahibul Qawanin, Mirza Abul Qasim Qummi is one of the students. Hajmullah Mahdi Naraqi, one of the students. Sahib Riyaz, one of his students. He had trained many great mujtahideen. Because he was able to protect Usuli, a school, they call him Ustadul Kull, teacher of everyone. And his students had great respect for him. The next person is Sayyid Mahdi Bahrul Ulum, Allami Bahrul Ulum, who was a student of Wahid Bihbani. He has many books. He has also a not very thick, but a small book. He has made the entire fiqh into poem. From beginning to the end of fiqh as a poem. Because of his very high spirituality, ulama have great respect for him, and it is a common idea that he was one of the ulama that he had honor of meeting Imam Zaman. So this is a common idea among ulama. So if in the history of Shia you ask which ulama had the honor of meeting Imam Zaman, one would be Bahrul Ulum. Kashiful Ghita, who is a great alim, his book Kashiful Ghita is a great book of fiqh, used to take his Tahtul Hanak. Tahtul Hanak is the part that we put under the neck, and clean Na'alain of Bahrul Ulum. Of course, not in front of him, because he was not allowed. So he was honored that the dust of his shoes is on my Imam. This was greatness of Bahrul Ulum, also greatness of Kashiful Ghita, that as an alim mujtahid he was so much humble. He was born in 1154 or 1155 and died in 1212. The next person is Kashiful Ghita, the same person, Sheikh Ja'far Kashiful Ghita, who was a student of Wahid Bihbani, also a student of Bahrul Ulum. So, as I said last week, sometimes teacher and a student, both were students, but the big difference, yeah? So, Bahrul Ulum was a student of Wahid Bihbani, Kashiful Ghita was also a student, but after Wahid Bihbani, he continued learning from Bahrul Ulum. He was an Arab, and he was very capable faqih. He lived in Najaf, trained many people. Sahib Jawahir, Sheikh Muhammad Hassan al-Najafi, Sahib Jawahir, who is very famous, we will talk about him, is one of his students. Sayyid Jawad Amilis, the one who compiled Miftahul Karama, is another student. He himself had 4 sons, all of them became faqih. He was living at the time of King Fath Ali Shah Qajar. He died in 1228. Then we have Sahib Jawahir. Jawahirul Kalam is a book that today no faqih would make any fatwa without checking this book. In the new edition, it is, I think, 43 volumes. And believe me, if you understand one page of this completely, you are mujtahid. If you can understand one page. It's very, very technically and carefully written. And he spent 30 years in Najaf, in the old and hot difficult situation, no good water, no air conditioning, no food, nothing. 30 years he spent on compiling this book. And therefore, Imam Khomeini used to say many times that our fiqh is jawahiri. We should not compromise about our fiqh. We should not dilute our fiqh. Our standard is set by him, by Sahib Jawahir. Those people who bring, superficial, reasoning to convince, lay people, they don't know fiqh. If they can even explain a paragraph of Jawahir, we kiss their hand. So, fiqh has to be in that standard. He was marja of all Shia in his time. And he died in 1266, just beginning of Nasiruddin Shah's reign. When just Nasiruddin Shah took over, he passed away. The next person is Sheikh Murtaza Ansari, rahmatullah alayh. His genealogy goes back to Jabir ibn Abdullah al-Ansari. He was born in Dashful, and up to 20, he was studying with his father. Then with his father went to Iraq. Ulama of the city were asking his father not to take him, let him study and continue here. But alhamdulillah, he went there and studied there. He studied in Iraq for 4 years, and he took lessons from Sharif al-Ulama, from Allama Mujahid. Then, because the governor of Baghdad attacked Karbala, he moved to Iran. He stayed 2 years in Iran, studied in Iran, then he went to Iraq. Then he again came to Iran. He was traveling to different cities to find good scholars, to Isfahan, to Kashan. In Kashan, he met Naraqi. So he met Mullah Ahmad al-Naraqi. Because we have Mullah Ahmad al-Naraqi and his son Mullah Mahdi al-Naraqi. Both of them are great scholars. Mullah Ahmad al-Naraqi has Jami' al-Sa'adat. His son has Mi'raj al-Sa'adat. Both of them in Akhlaq. In fiqh, Mullah Ahmad has Mustanad al-Shia. So he studied with Mullah Ahmad al-Naraqi, and he so much, because he was supposed to travel. When he met Mullah Ahmad al-Naraqi in Kashan, he stayed 3 years there. This much they had love for knowledge. When they found Buddhist teacher, he stayed 3 years there in Kashan. Then he went to Mashhad, stayed there for 5 months. Then to Isfahan, then to Burujerd, benefiting from everyone. Then he went back again to Iraq and remained there. After Sahib Jawahir, they asked him to become marja for the Shia. And he didn't accept. He said, I had a classmate who was better than me. He is in Rasht, in northern Iran. He is better than me. You must go and ask him to become marja. So he wrote a letter and said, you are better than me and you must become marja. And he wrote back that when we were together in Hose, I was better. But now I am busy with tabligh, I am away from Hose and students and discussion. You are better than me. So you become marja. So after that he accepted and he became marja. And his book on usul, Fara'idul Usul, and his book on fiqh, Makasib, both of them are textbooks. And now, for many decades, these two books are used as textbook. And we are very much influenced by his ideas. The next person is Mirza Shirazi, the Kabir, the big, the senior one. Mirza Muhammad Hassan, because we have Muhammad Taqi, we have Muhammad Hassan. This is the one who issued the fatwa for tobacco. He studied first in Isfahan, then he went to Najaf, he took part in the lectures of Sahib Jawahir, and then Sheikh Ansari. And he himself became a great scholar. After Sheikh Ansari, he was the marja for the Shia. For 23 years, he was marja al-itlaq. Mirza Shirazi for 20 years was the only marja, almost only marja. And you know that just with a short writing, about one maybe line, he managed to defeat the plan to have monopoly over selling and buying and trade of tobacco, which was given by King to the British company. And all the income was going away. So he just said, from today, smoking and using tobacco or something like this is like fighting Imam Zaman. Muharib. So even the wives of the king didn't prepare for him shisha. He said, you are my wife, I am the king. He said, he has made us your wife. According to his fatwa, we are your wife. So he had to surrender. Then it is said that some people went to see Mirza Shirazi, some ulama, and they saw his crying. And they said, why are you crying? You must be very happy. Because of your fatwa, alhamdulillah, a great victory has been achieved. He said, I cry because now enemies know our strengths. Now they will do everything to damage this institution of Marja'i. He trained many scholars. Akhund Khurasani, Mullah Muhammad Kazem Khurasani, Sahibul Kifaya, we will talk about him, is one of his students. Sayyid Muhammad Kazem Tabatabai, as the Sahibul Urwat al-Wusqa, is one of his students. Haj Agha Reza Hamedani, a great faqih, he has Kitab al-Salat, other books, one of his students. Mirza Muhammad Taqi Shirazi, the second Mirza Shirazi, is also another student of him. He died in 1212. Then we have Akhund Khurasani, Mullah Muhammad Kazem Khurasani. He was born in 1255 in Mashhad. When he was 22 years old, he went to Tehran, studied in Tehran for some time. Then he went to Najaf. For 2 years, he was able to benefit from Sheikh Ansari's lectures. He was a student of Sheikh Ansari for 2 years. But most of his studies was with Mirza Shirazi. Mirza Shirazi, you must have heard, that made a decision to move to Samarra to strengthen the position of the, lovers of Ahlul Bayt in Samarra. He himself moved there and asked Talaba to move there. So some of the Hose went to Samarra in 1291. So when he went, Akhund Khurasani remained in Najaf and started his own circle of teaching. It is said there were about 1,200 people who took part in his lessons, and about 200 people were mujtahids. 200 mujtahids were attending his lectures among 1,200 students. Sayyid Abul Hasan Isfahani, who became great marja, was one of his students. Sheikh Muhammad Hussein Isfahani, Arabi company, one of his students. Agha Hussein Burujerdi, Ayatollah Burujerdi, one of his students. Agha Hussein Qummi, one of his students. Agha Ziauddin Iraqi, one of his students. Mirza Nai'ini, one of his. Of course, Mirza Nai'ini used to take part in his private lessons. His book, Kifayatul Usul, is one of the textbooks that we study as the last book in Sath before Dars Kharaj. He issued fatwa in favor of constitutional revolution in Iran, Mashrutiyat. He supported Mashrutiyat, and because of that, it was successful. He died in 1329 after Hijrah. Then we have the last person in this list, Mirza Nai'ini, who is a student of Mirza Shirazi, Sayyid Muhammad Fesharaki, and also took part in the private lessons of Ahund Khurasani. He is very famous, especially because of his usul. Ayatollah Khui Rahmatullah Alayhi was one of the students of Sheikh Nai'ini, and he has Ajwad al-Taqrirat, which is his notes from the usul lectures of Mirza Nai'ini. He was also supporting constitutional revolution, and he has a book, Tanzihul Ummah, which is about Islamic government and basis of Islamic theory of politics. He died in 1355. So now we reach the time of the next generation, like Ayatollah Khui, Imam Khomeini, Ayatollah Ha'evi, Ayatollah Burjardi, that Ayatollah Mutahhari stopped here. So he didn't mention to the next generation. So overall, we discussed 33 figures in fiqh from 3rd century up to the 14th century. And as you see, there is continuity. You never find a gap, a generation, 2 generation, that fiqh went to decline, there was no faqih, no good book, no. Always they kept fiqh into the center of their attention. Because although fiqh is not the only science, but fiqh is where ulama can be trained. Because any Islamic studies has to be based on the Quran and Sunnah. And without having knowledge of fiqh and related subjects like rijal and diraya and usul, you cannot understand the Quran and hadith. So alhamdulillah, there has been this continuity, and we can trace back generation by generation scholars. The next thing is that he says the Shia fiqh is not something developed by one ethnicity. Iranians, Arabs from Iraq, from Lebanon, from other places, they all played a role in this. Because some people want to say Iranians created Shia to take revenge from Muslims who conquered Iran. Some people say like this, that Arabs brought Islam to Iran and Iranians created Shia Islam to counter. This is not the idea. You see that even the Safavids that they very much focus, it comes in the 10th century. All these great scholars in the previous centuries are before the Safavids. The center of fiqh at some time was Baghdad. Then Sheikh Tusi managed to bring it to Najaf. You remember we said that his library was burnt, he had to move to Najaf, so he made Najaf a stronghold. Jabal Amil was at some time very great center. Helle, you remember we said in Helle there were many mujtahids at some point. Halab in Syria was another place that trained many scholars. Isfahan in the time of Safavids became a hub. But the maybe only city that in Iran that goes back to the early century, because Isfahan is in the time of Safavid, is Qom. Qom goes back to the time of Ahlul Bayt, and from the time of Ahlul Bayt, there were scholars there, like Sheikh Saduq and others. There was a kind of revival in 1340 by Sheikh Abdul Karim Ha'iri, who is reviving the Hawza again in Qom. He says one of the signs of active presence of the scholars in a city is where you find big houses. So you go to Qom, you go to Kashan, you go to Hamadan, to Tehran, you find big houses there. It shows that this was an active place for learning. And finally he says Shia was present in southern Lebanon, Jabal Amel, earlier than Iran as a whole. Of course, some places in Iran like Qom, Kashan, they were always Shia. But as a whole, Iran was up to 10th century mostly not Shia. But Jabal Amel was a place that it is said from the time of Abu Dhar, when Abu Dhar was sent into exile, he spread the love for Ahlul Bayt there, and therefore the Shia have been there for centuries. Okay, Alhamdulillah, we finished this lesson. Inshallah, next lesson, we go into different sections of fiqh. So we go into the fiqh itself. This was the history of fiqh. And we'll see what are the abwab or kutub or sections in fiqh that our ulama discuss, so that you have a kind of image of the fiqh, inshallah. Alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alamin.